Welcome to this week's topic once again. And this week's topic is actually a follow-up to last week's topic, which was diseases in crops. But this week we are going to be talking about diseases in farm animals. And yes, there are so many funny diseases we are going to look at, such as foot and mouth disease, coccidiosis, contagious abortion, and so on and so forth. However, I'm going to look at what is a disease in farm animals. Then again, I'll look at some identification of specific diseases in farm animals. Also, I'm going to look at their mode of spread to other animals as well as the control measures of diseases. Why don't you listen and pay attention to all I'll be discussing this week. Thank you. Diseases in farm animals. A disease in farm animal can be defined as abnormalities in health. And this abnormality may lead to a deviation in the normal performance of the organism. A disease in farm animal can also be seen as a sign of illness, which affect the animal physiological, psychological, and mental states of this animal, thereby preventing them from performing optimally. Causes of diseases. Diseases are caused by pathogenic organisms. These pathogenic organisms can only be seen with the aid of a microscope. Examples are bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoa, as we have earlier seen when we were discussing diseases in crops. But we also have larger organisms such as ticks, lice, etc. Then diseases are also caused as a result of nutritional deficiency, such as ketosis and even rickets. Then diseases are also caused by inanimate objects such as fire, chemicals, and general hazards. Then I want to look at mode of infection of diseases in farm animals. Diseases can affect animals through droppings or feces of infected animals, such as one we are seeing here, infected animals. It can also be through contact with infected animals. It can also be through contaminated feeds and water that are given to the animals. Body contact, also through air, insects, etc. Here, I'm going to name some diseases that are caused by virus. Disease affecting cattle, goat, and sheep. I also have rinderpest, which also is a virus disease. Then, Newcastle disease affecting poultry birds is also caused by virus. I have another disease here called tuberculosis. This is caused by bacteria. Another bacterial diseases are anthrax. We also have tuberculosis and brucellosis. Here I have coccidiosis affecting birds. This is caused by protozoa. And I also have trypanosomiasis, which is another disease caused by protozoa. Remember that trypanosomiasis is also called nigema or sleeping sickness, which affect cattle, goat, and sheep. Then I have another one, which is called scabies. Scabies is actually a fungus disease and it affects cattle, goat, and sheep. This is an animal that will be affected by scabies, destroying the skin. You can see the hairs are all pulled out, thereby affecting the animal. Here, I want to look at specific diseases in farm animals. This is coccidiosis. Like I told you earlier, coccidiosis is caused by protozoa. And the animals it affects is poultry generally. It can be fowl, dog, turkey, etc. Then how will you know that this is coccidiosis? You can see the stand immobile nature. He will stay in one place. The animal will stay in one place, very dull, and sometimes the eyes are closed. Then the beak will be pointed to the ground, just like the one you are seeing here. Let me give you more examples. There will be blood stain if actually this one is dead now. If it happen to kill an animal, and if you look at the droppings, there's going to be blood stain in the droppings. Then actually immediately you enter your poultry house and you look at the droppings, there are blood stain. So the first disease you suspect is coccidiosis. It is usually caused as a result of wet litters on their wood shavings. So when they are wet, they now have cold, and this will result to this disease called coccidiosis. Then you see the feathers will be ruffled, that they will be dropping. Then the animal will automatically have loss of weight, because at that time it will reduce feed intake. It will not be eating because it has lost appetite. Then finally this will occur, which is death. Other animals will be infected if they come in contact with this bird, and even the droppings. If other animals get in touch with the droppings of this particular one, they will automatically be infected. So there should be clean environment.
Coccidiosis is a parasitic infection. In broilers and layer pullets, clinical signs are a reduced growth rate, reduced feed and water intake, diarrhea, ruffled feathers, and depression. Coccidiosis spreads by oocysts shed by infected birds. This non-infective oocysts will change to infective sporocysts in the environment. When ingested by a bird, the sporocysts start invading gut cells. The bird will start shedding oocysts herself, which can contaminate more chickens. The diagnosis may be confirmed by analyzing feces to determine the presence of oocysts. Oocysts are difficult to eradicate because they can survive up to 1 year in the environment. Preventative measures include strict hygiene and biosecurity. Special attention is required when disinfecting a building in between rounds and in case of wet litter. When an infection does occur, treatment should start soon to keep the damage to the flock.
Affecting cattle, goat, and sheep is foot and mouth disease. In other words, from the name, it affects the mouth and the foot. You can see this particular one now. You see the mouth is having problems. It's almost getting rotten. The tongue will now be stretched out. It's as a result of this disease. Then there will be salivation in the mouth, as you can see here. Foaming will be coming out from the mouth. Then, of course, there are sores already on the feet and the lips and even tongue. So because of this, now the animal will lack appetite to feed or to eat. Therefore, definitely the body will be weak. It will have general weakness. Then it will not be lame or emaciated. Then, if possible, death can also occur. Though I told you that this disease is caused by virus, but it is transmitted by contact with infected animals or contact through contaminated feeds materials from diseased heads. The effect is usually death. The control measures is also vaccination. You vaccinate as early as possible, then isolate diseased animal from the healthy one so that it will not transfer easily. Then, of course, no treatment. You have to kill this animal and bury deeply so that the other animals will not have contact with the affected parts of this body of this animal so that disease cannot spread easily. Another disease I also want to look at is scabies. This is a fungus disease. It also affects cattle, goat, and sheep. The symptoms on how you know that this is scabies: the animal will have heavy irritation, to be itching all over the body, and lumps can also appear all over the body of the animal. It's very common in the udder, that's the breast region, or the mammary glands of the female animals. Scratching will continue, and the animal will want to scratch back by using the body to rub wood or wall or stuff like that. Then the hairs will start pulling off. That you can see here. Then if care is not taken, it will lead to sore development. Bacterial attack can also affect it and cause the animal to even. Another disease is a popular one, Newcastle disease in birds or poultry birds. This is very common in our birds, especially during the rainy season. This is what you see when it affects young birds. They walk cluster together, short, nodding their heads together. If it affects layers, they're going to lay eggs without shells. You know what that means? It will lay egg that are shellless. So it will not allow a specialist, a consultant to speak more.
Newcastle disease is an avian viral infection. It has no cure and spreads very fast from infected birds to uninfected birds that have not been vaccinated. It has a mortality of up to 100%. Sign number 1: twisting of the neck and staggering while in motion. Newcastle disease affects the central nervous system and decline in egg production. That has been affected by Newcastle disease, the shell appears to be irregular and appears to be very light. So for the case of a light shell, an egg can be laid and it is in this state, it's very watery. So this is how an egg would appear. In very rare cases, we can have an egg being laid without a shell, very shellless eggs. And this is a very, very common sign of Newcastle disease. When the eggs are laid without a shell, such as this egg, there is a shellless egg. It cannot take any shape, it's a seamless egg. This is a very common sign of Newcastle disease. Number 3, tremors, weakness, and penguin stature. This is a very common characteristic in layers, especially those that have newly started laying. Limb joints are completely paralyzed, thus they are unable to move. The bird appears to be seated on its rear and moves as though. Sign number 4, partial paralysis. Mostly, one leg is paralyzed, but its tissue nervous system is partially functioning. The leg is fully paralyzed since its nervous system is completely dead. The leg appears as though a withering or drying stick. The bird moves by hopping on one leg, and wings are paralyzed. The bird cannot stand and walk, neither can it use its wings for balance. It appears lying on its belly all along. Sign number 7, depression. The bird appears to be in a seated position and as though dozing all the time with one or two eyes closed. Sign number 8, gasping, coughing, and ocular. Number 9, diarrhea. The birds are characterized by a watery diarrhea. For you to be able to diagnose Newcastle, unlike other diarrheas, you will then be needed to look at the stool. The stool appears to be dark green in color.
About the control measures of Newcastle disease, you're going to have a routine vaccination that from time to time, usually 2 weeks, you vaccinate them, especially starting with NCD vaccine, that's Newcastle disease vaccine. First, you are going to give intraocular to young birds. Then you give muscular to other birds, especially through the muzzles. Then you also have a good sanitary practices on the farm. Because no treatment, you have to be very careful so that prevention, they say, is better than cure. So vaccination should be started even right from dayhood. That's where you start till they are reach an adult age where they can be sold.
Out there, but the more we get close to the animals, the more we are at risk of contracting their illnesses. In fact, the coexistence of man and animals is the reason infection-causing germs and bacterium have adapted to live in human flesh, thus spreading the same diseases. Anthrax, foot and mouth disease, Ebola, and many other diseases occur in both animals and humans. Brucellosis is one of the bacterial infections that affect humans and animals, especially cows and goats. We contract it most often via unpasteurized milk, cheese and other dairy products. More rarely, the bacteria that causes brucellosis can spread through the air or through direct contact with infected animals. Brucellosis in humans go unreported, yet their prevalence is very high.
Especially in the cattle corridor, where people interact with animals on a daily basis, where every household almost has an animal. It also tends to be more common in the crossbreeds, where many people have crossed with the Frisians. The prevalence tends to go up. So in areas, districts that are having a higher population of the crossbreeds, and also generally that are keeping animals in many households and interact with these animals closely, this disease tends to be quite prevalent.
This is because human brucellosis has a wide clinical spectrum, presenting in various diagnostic difficulties because it mimics many other diseases, for example, malaria, typhoid, rheumatic fever, joint diseases, and other conditions causing pyrexia. The disease manifests with continued, intermittent, or irregular fever, headache, weakness, profuse sweating, chills, depression, weight loss, and general.
Brucellosis disease is a disease that is also called contagious abortion that affects cattle, goat, and sheep. And this disease actually results to the expulsion of the young fetus during 5 months old instead of 9 and some few weeks old. And this is caused by a particular bacteria known as Bacillus abortus. Though I'll give room to a specialist, Dr. Sylvia Buluka, the president of Uganda Veterinary Association, to speak on how infectious is brucellosis.
It is highly infectious, and also it is a bacteria that we describe as being hardy. Hardy means that it can survive for a long time in the environment.
And people most at risk include veterinarians, slaughterhouse workers, farmers, and laboratory personnel who commonly get into contact with animals. Processed dairy products can help in preventing and killing off any remaining human cases of brucellosis are reported each year.
Thanks for watching my video. I hope the topic was really exciting and interesting to you. Bye.